Welcome to another episode of Product-Led Growth Ops, the only YouTube series where we don't talk about flywheels and reverse trials, because we get to do the boring stuff. My name is Richard, and let's recap. In the first videos, we talked about the context. The name of the game is Working Product-Led Growth Stack. Not just stack, but the concepts we need to understand in order to do product-led growth in practice. Earlier in the series, we talked about what databases are, what users are, records, what events are. And the logical next step is to actually try to solve one common problem. All right, so the first thing to think about is, where do the users in all of my systems exist? Do you know that right now? If you don't, why not? That is the first exercise I would do before going into any further product-led growth tactics. We quite simply need to understand the people that we are talking to, the people that are working out of our product, and the people that are paying the bills. Who are they? Where do they exist? And can we put them into one single data set? So to be clear, the things we need to do are map out all the people that exist in our CRM, all the people that exist in our product or products, if you have multiple, all the people that exist in some of our, let's say, billing systems. If you have a credit card type of situation, then obviously somebody pays the bill with their credit card. They leave an email, we can figure out who that is. And lastly, and probably a ton of CSVs you got lying around somewhere because somebody decided to do an Excel exercise. Note, we won't be talking about workspaces and that type of stuff just yet. The first step is to simply unify every single person record under one dataset. Why are we doing this? Let's put it this way. This is kind of like a foundational exercise for further steps. You want to analyze your conversion rate between free user to paid user. You maybe have a situation where a single user can be a part of multiple workspaces. Maybe you work with agencies. Those people exist in other clients' accounts, and that can get very, very messy very quickly. Maybe you're in a situation where a single user is very different from the one paying the bill. Let's say you are doing a very hefty B2B type of situation, which we are here, and the actual users of the product are different to the stakeholders, the VPs you talk to, who then actually sign off the deal and give access to the users. So, foundational exercise, tedious, I know, but trust me, it will make your life a lot easier down the line. So, let's talk about a few assumptions. We obviously need a couple of tools for this, and I assume you're bringing your own stack, and I bring my own stack, so we're not exactly gonna talk about what you should use. Instead, conceptually, like what type of tools we use here. You probably have a CRM. It's likely Pipedrive, Salesforce, or HubSpot. My example, it's gonna be HubSpot. Most familiar with that, and I know how their identity resolution works. So in our case, let's assume it's HubSpot. With HubSpot, we are creating contacts and companies all in one go. Default settings, great. We have a product, a single product that runs on a Postgres database. Very nice, neat, relational, nothing crazy, no Mongo stuff. And lastly, we have a Stripe account where we send people to pay the bills, and then we allow them to actually do something in the tool. So 3 tools: HubSpot, Postgres, and Stripe. So let's assume a few things. We're working with 3 main concepts, 3 tools right now. We have a CRM. For me, it's going to be HubSpot. And in HubSpot, I'm going to be using the default contact and company association. So for my business, HubSpot is the source of truth for figuring out what a real company is. Our product is run on Postgres, and it hosts obviously the user data, but as well, it hosts the various identifiers for workspaces, right? A single user can maybe be part of multiple workspaces. That data lives in Postgres. Lastly, we have Stripe. This is the tool I'll be using to get money, basically, and that tool will host all of my billing details.
Rock and roll!
What do we actually need to do? First step, we need to replicate the data somehow. You can use a standard ETL product, Fivetran, Airbyte, a couple of the other ones that are less known, or actually for this proof of concept type of scenario, just extract it somehow to a CSV. I don't care. As long as you don't work with production data, you don't manipulate existing data just yet, you are good. So, first step, yeet the data somewhere and make a copy. Make a copy first, then yeet. I don't know how it works technically speaking, but whatever. Second step, unify your people. A person is identified typically through their email address. So, logically, what we want to do is we want to find every single table and every single column that contains a value for email address. We want to be sure that we're actually using an email address for a person, not, let's say, an office or hello at whatever or billing at mycompany.com. Any column that represents an email address for a person. So find those, list them out. Typically they come in a sort of database schema table column format. So my BigQuery project dot hubspot.contact.property_email. That's, for example, a path for a single column for email addresses. At this point in time, you want to smash it together. You can do this quite easily with SQL. So you do a set of select statements, smash it together, and then you have a long, long list. I believe the term you want to use here is union all. However, whatever way you do it is up to you. Just conceptually know that you need to put all your email addresses in one long list. Another pro tip is to actually do some cleaning on that data. People tend to input their email addresses in all kinds of formats. Sometimes you add like a capital letter, a bunch of people use the plus alias sign. Just run it against some kind of cleaning function. Just trim the ends and lowercase everything just to make sure that you have a similar looking record in all systems. Fourth step, unless I don't know how to count, but fourth step, you want to aggregate a couple of things on the user level. So let's say workspace ID is a good one. You take those workspace IDs and you put them on a column in the person level. So user 1 is part of workspace 1, comma, workspace 2, etc., etc. This will help us down the line to use this data. For now, we just want people and the workspaces they're part of. If possible, add any kind of company level identifying data in there as well. Company name is not a good one. There's no way we can do any kind of matching nicely. So company name, but if you have something like website, great. If you can extract the domain name from a person's email address, great. If you can run it against some kind of enrichment enrichment API, even better. But point being, like any kind of real company identifier you can find, add it to this table as well. This will help us then do the user to account matching, even though in this example, we'll let HubSpot do the work. Lastly, this data set is going to be relatively raw. You will have all kinds of nonsense there. You want to then lastly create some form of filter view. Let's say anything that doesn't look like an email address, probably don't want that. Maybe you have some deleted records that are still in the database and you don't want to use those, maybe also not. Quite often you'll have records that are purely free mails and then there's no company level identifiable data there. So they just look like a random free mail and honestly they're not super useful. Unless they already have some paying like dollars behind them, I'd say filter them out. So last step is filter out a view of this foundational data set that you're comfortable with, because we're going to have to use it to sync it to other tools and also merge with other ideas like billing details, company stuff, etc. Until next time.